Hello,
and welcome to the Book Doctors YouTube channel. This is Why Publishers Are Stupid, Part 2.
Part 2. This time, it's personal.
This is part of a 107-part series.
So, about why publishers
are stupid. Well,
so where do we start?
2020 has really gotten off to a why publishers are stupid squared, right?
Yes, right.
So there have been
insane
couple of major controversies.
Like she said to me, "Did you hear about the controversy?" I said, "Is there a new controversy?" Oh yeah, there's a new controversy.
So the first controversy was a book called American Dirt. Is a novel,
it's a novel
that takes place in Mexico. Its protagonist is a Mexican bookseller.
Yes.
And by the way, it's a very overused marketing trope to make your protagonist a bookseller or librarian.
Because why wouldn't a bookseller or a librarian
want to hand sell your book in that case? So it's about a woman and her son that are on the captured, I believe.
They're on the run. See, you're just. Why did you even stop? It's just no.
As you can see, we can't actually really say what the book was about.
Oh, that's what it's about.
Yeah, but we haven't read the book.
I haven't read the book.
Let's be honest.
They're on the run from a bunch of evil Mexican drug dudes, which is what all these stories and all these movies have.
Okay.
So they come to the border, and it's about the migrant-immigrant situation at the southern border to tell you the real truth of how it really is. The only problem is it was written by a white lady who has no idea what it's like to be a poor Mexican person trying to escape the evil drug lords and come to the land of milk and honey.
And at the end of the book, she writes an afterword as the author to say that she is a white lady writing about this experience, but it was something that really moved her, and she wanted to give voice to the quote-unquote faceless brown mass, and that her husband was also an immigrant.
Yes.
And the implication was that he came from south of the border. In fact, he's from Ireland. The galley for this book was sent to a Latina writer named Miriam Gerba, who ripped this book a new you-know-what.
Several new you-know-whats.
Yes. And
full of cliches, full of the worst kind of cultural appropriation.
Mistakes.
Just blatant mistakes. Riddled with them. And she was furious.
And she sent in her review, and the publication wouldn't publish it.
Refused to publish it.
So
she published it somewhere else, and it got out and it went viral.
There's a chain reaction.
Yes.
And then lots of other Latinx activists got on board and started talking about the issue of how a book that was touched by so many different people, publisher, editor-in-chief, editor, copy editor, book designer, there's a problem with the book design too, I'm not going to get into that, salespeople, marketing people, publicity people. How could a book get out into the world without anyone raising a red flag?
It had so many blatant problems in it at this moment in history when we're desperately trying to get different voices at the publishing table, where we're trying not to have nice white people
make all the decisions and explain.
White-splain.
Yeah. There are many books published about the border experience, but they get very small advances. We forgot to mention this book got $1 million advance and a huge marketing and publicity budget. So there are many books by Latinx authors about the border. They're generally not paid large advances.
No.
Many of these books are published by small publishing houses.
And they're not getting 25 city tours.
The questions being asked, how did this book get out without having a red flag? Why aren't Latinx writers being supported who are writing about experiences that they know? And why is the money all going to white authors?
White people? Well, there's an answer to that question. A study has just been done that releases all these facts about
statistics. Yeah.
as opposed to facts.
Well, it's a certain kind of fact.
That break it down. Who are making the decisions in publishing? Well, guess what?
White people are making the decisions
Almost all
in
decisions.
publishing. So,
tiny sliver of the pie.
Tiny sliver of the pie. Yeah.
Is a person of any color.
Yeah. So
that's
the
answer
publisher,
to that question.
This blew up within the publishing community, not so much by readers. It's, I think, number one on the New York Times bestseller list. But and Oprah, I think, she's going to have a discussion.
Oh, she's having a discussion.
But I don't think she's
not going to disown it.
I don't think she's fully disowning it, but I don't think she's owning it. I think she's taking a middle road. Many publishers had to finally take a good look inside themselves, and a group of Latinx activists came and met with the publishing house and with Penguin Random House this week to talk about how to support Latinx writers.
Well, a very small percentage of the white publishing industry took a hard look at themselves. The rest of them shed terrible white tears.
Yeah, so let's talk.
Oh my God, how now white people can't write about anyone except themselves?
Right. So the defensive reaction was, so fiction, you can only write about your own experience. That's all you can do now. And instead of, that wasn't even really what the issue was. No person criticizing this book said people shouldn't write outside their own experience. These are all fiction writers who obviously, as a fiction writer, you write outside your experience. But the point is to do it responsibly.
Yes.
And there are certain stories that may not be yours to write.
That's right.
That you can leave to other people to write.
Yes,
so the kerfuffle around, that's a great word.
It is a good word.
Around who gets to write what is a smokescreen for the larger issue of the fact that when someone, it doesn't matter who you are, but outside, you could be writing about living in South Dakota on a farm. Being white, living on a South Dakota farm, doesn't matter. If you're writing something outside the normal experience of people who are in control in publishing, you probably aren't going to get a large advance or even a voice, period. That's the most likely scenario.
Yes, and that's just controversy numero uno.
Okay, so controversy number 2 has to do with Barnes & Noble. And Barnes & Noble, via the major advertising agency Chiat Day, had the brilliant idea to take a whole bunch of classic books in the public domain like Alice in Wonderland, and one of my favorites, Emma, and to make new covers starring people of color. So instead of supporting authors of color, instead they have literally put blackface on the covers.
Well, people were very, very upset by this.
And now these books are not going to make it into the store.
Gone, canceled.
So the issue here that is positive for everybody out there is that what this means is that the bottom line of these publishers were actually impacted by both of these situations.
Yes.
And when the bottom line is affected, then suddenly people are forced to look at the larger issues at hand.
And in fact, so what do we do? What do you do? What's the takeaway? What
do you do, David?
What do you do? A, you support people who write great books, who, no matter if they're white or brown or black or whatever they are, you buy a great book. And in fact, maybe go out of your way to buy a book by somebody who is not a white person.
Doesn't look like you, whatever you are.
Whatever you are. Yeah. Yes, that's number 1. Make your voice heard. If you see something, say something.
Yeah. Lots of the people on the American Dirt Crisis were just writing on their own blogs, but they were getting, this is actually another great thing. This can be a way to get published. I contacted a guy who wrote an essay for McSweeney's, which will be in the comment section, which was a humor essay, and yet captured exactly what was wrong with the book itself.
And he is a Latinx person himself.
He is. 28-year-old guy, doesn't have a book. I contacted him and said, I'd be happy to introduce you to a literary agent if you have a book, because he wrote this piece.
Yes.
So making your voice heard, whatever your voice is, can be hugely important in these circumstances.
Absolutely. And again, like money and information. You can, if you don't have money to buy the books, well, you can like and share all these kind of comments, and you can support writers on the internet who are doing stuff about this.
You can make your own collectives so that your voices are amplified. You can start your own publishing houses.
Yes, you
if
could.
You know that there are not enough books for a certain group of people for which you are connected, we'll bring up the old E.L. James example of 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
Of fan fiction for Twilight, where her little tiny publisher...
Mommy porn.
Knew how to reach these fan fiction people, and that book blew up.
Yes.
So if you know that there's a group of people that big publishing is not publishing for, you may have a potential gold mine.
And in fact, there is proof out there that books by people who aren't the traditional, normal white person who gets published can be very successful. They can sell lots of copies.
That's the thing. There are these holes.
Yes.
So that if a publisher, they can't just publish the book. They need to support it. And that's the big issue here, is that there are lots of great books being published, but they're not being supported.
Yeah.
So if you have a book that is getting, a big marketing budget, that makes a huge difference. So people know it exists out there.
So there's this number 3 is the Newbery Awards, which are the big awards in the kids' book world. Caldecott,
and Newbery, and
they recently happened.
Yeah,
and a lot of people who aren't white were awarded with Caldecotts or Newberys,
including my client, Kwame Alexander, who won a Newbery honor for his book, The Undefeated, and The Undefeated also won the Caldecott, illustrated by Kadir Nelson. So it won both
Dewey
awards.
And it's selling like hotcakes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what's the reaction of, let's say, I don't know, the Wall Street Journal, let's say.
Let's say the Wall Street Journal.
Let's just pick the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
Randomly.
Let's pick it randomly. So that article, normally the articles that cover the ALA Awards just are a reporting of, here's what won, here's what the book is.
Here's a success story. There's a great success story from the Newbery. This guy has been self-publishing because no one would publish his book. He's a
for
black
22 years
author,
illustrator,
and he wrote
his graphic novel New Kid is the first graphic novel to win the Newbery Award.
That's big news. A guy who's been struggling for 20 years,
and the book has
2
been
decades,
selling like crazy, and people love it.
So we would imagine that the Wall Street Journal would have wonderful things to say about.
Instead, the article started something like, identity politics have taken over the ALA Awards.
White people don't win awards.
As someone on Twitter said, literally, this was in the article. As someone on Twitter said, if you're white, you won't be winning an award anytime soon.
No.
So it's like you can't win either way.
No.
If you have a great book, you probably won't get published.
Right.
If you get published, you only won it because identity politics have taken over the awards.
Because really, it's better to be anything besides white. You get many more advantages. I hear white people say this to me all the time, and I'm like, what universe are you living in?
Yeah. So anyway, these are some of the crazy things, and that show that not just publishers actually, but a lot of the media too are stupid in the way that really. The good news is, is that some major changes are at least creeping in, and we, as you know, we're all about getting as many voices heard as possible.
Windows and mirrors,
and so we were a little bit hopeful.
Yes, we are. And this is a call to action for everybody out here. Let's raise each other up.
Yeah. Do you have other examples of how publishers are stupid? Put them in the comments below. All right, everybody, see you at the bookstore.
Now, if you look up in this corner of the
that joke
screen,
is getting so old.
You're getting so old.
So are you? You're older.
I'm already old. She's going to be 50. So
I'm just going to do a short version of it. So American Dirt is this new book that, what do you do?
I was just adding some comedy.
Come on if you're coming. Come on if you're coming. Come on if you're coming. Come on if you're coming.